Hello, I'm Carter Hudgins, Drayton Hall's Director of Preservation, and I'm standing at the base of Drayton Hall's iconic portico, a portion of the site that's been receiving recent attention as part of an effort to seal the exterior of the main house. As you can see, the work behind me is paying particular attention to the portico, and areas that are receiving attention are the balustrade and railing, the interior cornice and ceilings, as well as the columns. Much of the current work is cosmetic in nature, but through those works, we're identifying future needs of attention. One area that's going to require attention in the very near future are the structural elements of Drayton Hall, and particularly those associated with the portico. The portico, over the years, has been plagued with water coming into the structure and causing damage to masonry and timbers. It's also causing damage to materials that were inserted in the early 20th century as part of preservation efforts. As you can see here behind me, we have modern materials in the form of concrete and rebar that were inserted to support the two-story portico above. Because of the water coming into the structure, the rebar is rusting, it's expanding, the concrete that surrounds the rebar is failing. That's compromising the structural integrity of Drayton Hall, and in the very near future we need to conduct a structural assessment of the portico and of the main house to identify needs such as the failing rebar and to develop a plan to conserve the portico and ensure that it survives for future generations.
Hi, I'm Craig Tuminaro, the Director of Museum Interpretation here at Drayton Hall. I'm standing today in what had been the parking area for the African American cemetery, known as a sacred place. Now I'd like to describe a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing here at the cemetery and tell you a little bit about our plans for the coming months. About a year and a half ago, we convened a committee of family members, both white and black, scholars, community members, and staff, to determine what would be a suitable memorial for the African Americans that had lived and worked at Drayton Hall and were buried here at the sacred place. We worked with the Philip Simmons Foundation and with Philip Simmons himself to provide a design for that memorial. And with the design in hand, we looked at locations, and we determined a location for that memorial basically right here at what had been the entrance to the cemetery. But during the course of this work, we did some archaeology at the footing sites for the memorial and extended those archaeological investigations further out into the parking area closer to the main drive to Drayton Hall. Now, in that parking area, we uncovered evidence for grave shafts, indicating that the cemetery itself was not located solely to the area behind me, but in fact had extended historically out closer to that main drive. So now, rather than trying to do archaeology to determine the actual number of people that are interred here, what we'll be doing is looking at trying to determine the boundaries for that cemetery, the east and west boundaries, so that we can interpret this space as sacred for all of our visitors. We'll also be moving the parking area across the main drive, developing interpretive panels to tell this long, rich, and complex history, and also, finally, be installing the memorial at the tree line to give honor, recognition to the memory of the African Americans that have lived and worked here and contributed to Drayton Hall's longevity, success, and preservation.